As a child, I was fortunate that my parents had invested their limited funds in a huge collections of book series put out by a company that published Time and Life magazines. Of course, I lived in a simpler time when the world was polluted with DDT and organic chemicals that proved less dangerous than the internet, social media, and cell phones destroying today's youth. I imprinted upon books and the natural world, both of which I took in large doses. The books about art, nature, history were all on shelves that were really low, so that agreed with my small stature long before I learned how to read. The pictures drew me in, and the texts were there when I was ready. I developed a voluminous knowledge of the animal kingdom, particularly the insects, earwigs, crickets, caddisflies. My adult interests are immensely shaped by those books. You can find those books in used bookstores and eBay nowadays. They might be more pricey, but they're worth it. But this year I came across a new series of books that I think belong in every house's library, particularly if young people are given ready access. Princeton University Press's The Lives of series, currently 14 volumes, each sold separately, takes incredibly revealing images and ties them in with information gleaned by experts in the field to produce books holding more value than we can measure. For a bit less than $30, I purchased The Lives of the Butterflies, a natural history of our planet's butterflies. The cover sports a very intimate shot of a white-spotted Agrias amodon, a South American species pushed to endangerment by voracious collectors, which presages the strong environmentalist bend of the book. David James and David Lohman, professors at Washington State and City College of New York, respectively, embark on a journey of our current knowledge of butterflies that will bring new ideas to any but the most expert. After an informative introduction, they tackle topics from life history and behavior to the end chapters that push the case for conservation, given the many threats butterfly species and populations face. Most sections include a deeper look at a given species, like the Gaius jewelmark and red admiral. The perspective is global, including many species that will never be seen in the States, let alone Wisconsin. The section on butterfly populations includes recent information in subsections on metapopulations and migration, understandings of which will help all butterflyers, no matter how localized. Other organisms examined in other books in the series include spiders, octopi, fungi, and viruses. If a kid starts looking at these books as a toddler, by the time they finish high school, they might be ready to enter college as wise biologists. Even more importantly, children exposed to these images and ideas may be ready to function as responsible stewards in this rapidly declining world. Wendy Williams' The Language of Butterflies, published by Simon & Schuster in 2020, offers an easy, engaging read and is chock full of interesting facts, less diligently arranged than more scientific tracts. I imagine Williams as arrested at 3 years of age, as her knack for asking many questions while researching the book likely drove some scientists and curators rather nuts. Her narrative moves around like a butterfly patrolling for nectar, not always moving in the direction you'd expect. If you have friends that don't understand your butterfly obsession, this might be the book for them. Williams uses a lot of familiar analogies to explain butterfly activity, and she also defines biological terms so even those who got D's in freshman bio can understand. She never dares to hide her obvious awe of the natural world. Williams goes over some very familiar ground, such as delving into the difference between butterflies and moths, but she's clever and approaches these topics in novel, interesting ways. She's not a writer that helps you to feel stupid, as you get the feeling that she's figuring it all out right beside you. As with The Lives of Butterflies, The Language of Butterflies would be a great book to give a child and read it along with them if they are younger. It has far fewer pictures, but keeps feeding the imagination with well-written depictions. And Williams has anecdotes that will inspire the budding entomologists to follow their passion, as some of her researchers did in their early years. Kids will soak up her info like sponges, or more fittingly, the proboscis of hackberry emperors. Monarchs and Milkweed, a migrating butterfly, a poisonous plant, and their remarkable story of coevolution by Anurag Agarwal is a scientific but accessible book that goes into great detail about many Americans' favorite butterfly and its millions of years of evolution, dependent upon a group of toxic plants. Agrawal researches monarchs and knows his stuff, yet communicates through clear, jargon-free language that resembles storytelling. And he also defines terms that many biology students should know. His passion for the intersection of biology and chemistry becomes obvious. I'd recommend Monarchs and Milkweed for high school students interested in biology and other folks with more than a beginner's understanding of evolution and ecology, though a precocious 8-year-old perusing the text will still glean some decent knowledge. Agrawal uses the analogy of an arms race to explain coevolution, which might bother some, but the analogy helps us understand that plants and animals aren't always working in harmony. Anyone making their way through the nearly 250 pages will develop a greater understanding of interspecies dynamics between an organism and its food plant, which will help understand other natural relationships. This book was put out by Princeton University Press in 2017. All 3 books take the task of educating seriously. That's why I chose them for this review. As Robert Michael Pyle has argued, our youth are experiencing an extinction of experience, fostered by less interaction with the real and far more with the digital. This experiential loss hits our youngest the hardest, though the high schoolers I've worked with for more than 2 decades are showing a serious decline in curiosity. Engaging with an imaginative and knowledgeable author on topics concerning butterflies is more likely to get those youth out in the field than videos or websites. All 3 books would work very well in homeschooling situations where a child has a ready interest in butterflies or monarchs. Ideally, I'd like to see Agrawal's Monarchs and Milkweed adopted in high school biology classes that focus on literacy. Both Williams and Agrawal are likely to inspire kids to start tagging monarchs. Another great homeschooling activity, so I close with a link for incipient taggers.